Hello, listeners. On this episode of BookWatch, we are stepping through the wardrobe and into the magical world of Narnia. We are starting with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, originally published in 1950, and its 2005 film adaptation directed by Andrew Adamson. The screenplay was brought to life by Anne Peacock, Andrew Adamson, and Christopher Marcus, while the audiobook version is narrated by Michael York. I am Sarah Day.
And I'm Jordan.
And I'm Chris.
And we will explore the magic, the characters, and how this beloved classic translates from page to screen after these messages. Welcome back. This beloved classic follows four siblings who discover the enchanted land of Narnia, ruled by the icy grip of the White Witch and awaiting the return of the great lion Aslan. As the Pevensey children navigate courage, betrayal, and hope, both the page and the screen invite us to believe in something greater than just beyond the wardrobe door. Jordan and Chris, tell me a little bit about your experience with this story and the Narnia series as a whole.
Narnia was my earliest introduction to fiction, I think. When I first started learning, like getting into reading chapter books and longer form stuff as a kid, these caught my attention, and I started just devouring them. I went through, I think, the whole series in like a week, probably, just reading them as a kid. So I was enthralled in the world, and I think I probably read them 20, 30, 40 times over the course of the last 15, 20 years. So they definitely have a special place in my heart.
Oh, we lost you. You're muted or something.
I think I started reading them after this film came out. This film was very pivotal in my life. I was 7 years old when it came out. But I texted the co-host this, and I texted my sisters last night because I got just the opening scenes of like the music and like the bomb shelter, like all of that, and I just was like, I remember watching this when we were little girls and like being together as sisters. And like my family all has silly nicknames for each other, and one of my sisters is called Susan after this character Susan, because we thought it was so funny, one of the scenes where Lucy's like Susan, and we just thought that was hilarious. So then we just started calling my sister Sabrina Susan. Like, this film is deeply important to me and my family, my sisters especially. And then reading the books, they all went way over my head as a kid, and so just reading them basically for the first time again, now as an adult, I'm like, these are really powerful, these are really deep, and there's a lot in them to find. So I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, Narnia is very, very special to me.
I was just looking at one of the things I put in our document here was the ages of the kids in the book, and Lucy would have been about the same age you were when you saw the movie. So that's kind of fun.
I loved her so bad.
Yeah, she's so
She is
cute.
cute. I texted you guys. I'm like, I want to adopt Lucy. She's so adorable. My first memory of this series is the BBC short season. Like they did the same thing with Pride and Prejudice. And then I have vague memories of that. And then I was telling you guys earlier that I actually have a scene that was actually from that show that I could have sworn was from the film. So I remember that scene, but with these actors, which is wild. I don't remember if I read the entire series. Like, I could not tell you how the series ends. I do remember, Prince Caspian and the Voyage movies coming out. But again, I couldn't even tell you if I saw those. I remember owning the books. I remember reading The Magician's Nephew, but I don't think I loved it enough to keep going. And that might be because even after I just read The Magician's Nephew before rereading this, it is very different to me. Like, it still seems pretty boring compared to the rest of the Narnia saga, in my opinion. So I don't know if I did finish the books way back then. But I did see the movie. I've seen this movie several times. A lot of it came back to me as I was rewatching it for this episode. And I'm very excited to see what Greta does with the Magician's Nephew and if she continues the series, to see how, that continues. And I am excited to do the next two movies in this particular franchise as well.
Now, The Magician's Nephew came out technically sixth in the series as far as
Right.
release date. So, if you think about it that way, he built out the world and then kind of went back and made that prequel for how the world began, and then the last battle was the last one he did, which is the end of the series. Those
Would
two are
you
my favorite.
suggest
So,
The
for
Magician's
me,
Nephew?
both The Magician's Nephew and the last
My
battle are my two
apologies.
favorites. So, no, I understand the reasoning, but
What do you find so enthralling about The Magician's Nephew?
my favorite thing about it is it kind of introduces this bigger multiverse within the world. It's got the wood between the worlds. We see this travel between, it's not just Narnia and his world. There's infinite worlds that honestly I wish we'd gotten more exploration of. He could have written endless stories in this world, and yet that just leaves it up to the imagination to say what's in the other pools. What else can
Mm-hmm.
be explored here. And then getting to see the creation and the way the world fills out, the all that just really, and obviously the characters of the uncle who just doesn't, he wants the power but not um the responsibility and
Responsibility.
all that stuff. So yeah, I think I just latched on to some of the creation myth and some of that too. I think it's just kind of fun.
And I did find that interesting, the creation of Narnia. I really did, but I guess I didn't. The uncle was getting on my nerves. I There was nothing that really drew me to the kids in that one. Maybe it's because I was used to the um,
The Pevensies.
Pavenzi siblings, and I just wanted to get through the Magician's Nephew and get to their story. Um, but my question was going to be, do you suggest, like, did I do it wrong? Should I have read it sixth?
No, I agree. I think that reading it one through, with Magician's Nephew first and straight through with
Okay.
the chronological order, I think is better. I think you get to build the world the way the time moves. I think it would be weird. That's why I always read them in all in a row, because I think jumping around would just kind of make it too disjointed for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in my copies of the book, there's a foreword by the publisher saying like, "This is how C.S. Lewis." Reading The Magician's Nephew first is how C.S. Lewis wanted it to be read. Like there's documentation directly from him that they got through his estate, saying that he thought it was best read Magician's Nephew, Lion Witch Wardrobe, and so on from there.
Okay.
That's so
Well, at least I did it
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Do you think that's why I mean, okay, obviously we are starting this series because of the movie by Greta Gerwig that's coming out in November.
Mhm.
Um, so do we all agree that's the way they should do it? Like, we're glad they're doing the Musician's Nephew adaptation first.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
very
this
glad. Yeah.
is yeah, The Magician's Nephew ultimately is a prequel, so it does like all of the exposition and groundwork of like, what is Narnia? How did it come to be here? Why do the animals talk? Why is the White Witch here? Like it explains all of that. And so I think it definitely makes the most sense to, explain, hey, this is what you're dealing with, this is what the world looks like in this story, and how, even like the wardrobe itself in this book and this movie is very mysterious. How did it get here? Well, the Magician's Nephew explains why the wardrobe is a portal to Narnia and makes that make sense. So I think it, especially because this movie that we're talking about is from 20 years ago, and then they only did 3 out of the 7 books into movies. So basically, these haven't had proper adaptations
Mm-hmm.
ever, unless the BBC went all the way through.
They
But
did.
so they did. Okay, so but still, it's been 30-ish years plus since then. So you're talking about, like we were talking about with Harry Potter, like this is a brand new generation who's never had any exposure to Narnia as a visual media before. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's probably smarter and important that they lay the groundwork and say, let's lay it all out so everybody knows where we're at, and then we can get into the more commonly known story of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I actually don't know if they did all of them. I know that there have been adaptations of all of them in some
Oh,
media
okay.
form or another, but
Okay.
BBC might not have gotten all the way through them. I see everything but The Last Battle and Magician's Nephew are on at least the YouTube forum.
Okay.
So.
Mm. I wonder if Greta will actually get all of them adapted.
Well, that's my worry. It's the same thing worry I have with the Harry Potter stuff is that if something goes wrong with the studios or whatever else having to say, yeah, we're done, then we don't
Right.
get that TV version of these. Now, these ones are
Yeah.
movies she's doing, and as long as we have enough people that are committed to continuing to see it, I think it'll and actually going to see it in theaters and whatnot. If it wins the awards or whatever else they're trying to do with that, I think we'll keep going just fine. But it's a long time to try and commit to making 7 different films, so.
Yeah. Well, and especially with, the continuance of some of the characters throughout, like the Pevensey kids, especially being in the second film, they come back all the way through the rest of the books
The
in
younger ones
various
especially, yeah.
degrees. Right. So it's like, it's kind of like that time pressure that Harry Potter or like Percy Jackson has. Like, these kids are going to grow up. So if you're going to do it, you've got to commit and go all the way and follow through and get through all of them. And you have to do it relatively quickly before, these kids who are supposed to be, by the last book, whatever, 13, 14, 15 years old before they're 25, 30. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't, if you're going to do it, we got to do it. We can't just be messing around and like, oh, we'll come back to it later. Like, because then you got to recast. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Are there any themes that you thought the movie did really well or that they didn't do really well that the book had that you want to touch base on? We've got good versus evil, of course, coming of age. We've got the faith and belief, sacrifice, betrayal.
Well, just like we've talked about with like Holes and some of these other ones, I do love the shorter books being adapted into movies. It's so much
Mm-hmm.
easier to get a lot of the stuff right when you have only 4 or 5 hours of book that you have to convert down into a 2.5 hour movie. So I think most of the themes from the book came through pretty well. I can't think of anything where I felt like, I mean, there was a few things they added, like the first scenes with the war were just referenced in the book with a third party
Mm-hmm.
narrator, not actually seen. Some of the attitude between the siblings was there, but more of a reference because of that way of narrating. So there was some of that was brought through, but not in the same way. So I was fine with that. But otherwise, I think that all the themes really presented themselves pretty well in the film.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talk about good adaptations, and like the Hunger Games always comes to mind, and Harry Potter always comes to mind. But I think this is like a sleeper hit. Like, this movie is really, really well adapted from the book. Like, there's not a lot missing, and the stuff they added, I think, really adds to the story, and especially when you take it to a visual media, makes it more exciting and more engaging. But yeah, all of these things come through, really clearly. Ultimately, this story is it is a story of sacrifice. Aslan, and we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, but like, it's a Christian story. Aslan is Jesus. He takes Edmund's sin of betraying his family and he sacrifices himself to pay that debt, which, like, Easter was last week. That's what Jesus Christ did for us. If you believe in Jesus, that's what he did for us. As sinners, as human, imperfect humans, as he died to pay the debt of our sins. And so that, like, betrayal, and then Aslan tells the siblings, you need to forgive your brother, don't talk about what he did in the past, love him, forgive him. Like, that is such a powerful message of, like, we don't want to hold grudges, we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
make people feel othered after they mess up, because we all mess up. Like, just move forward in love. And I think, like, taking those big, like, powerful Christian themes and kind of whittling them down and making it very easy and approachable for,
Children.
wider, for
Yeah.
children. Yeah,
It's a kid's book. Yeah.
for children and for non-Christian audiences to, like, take in
Mm.
those, like, lessons and values and morals, is really powerful. And I think it did it. Again, the book laid the groundwork, of course, but like, this film bringing it to life did a really great job of taking these thoughts of, we have to fight evil, we can't just sit by and let it continue, or like Mr. Tumnus choosing to be brave even though he's scared. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of these things, you know, really shine through, and like the acting performances of everybody were so good too, to bring that to life.
Well, yes, speaking of the acting choices and performances, let's get into our cast, unless, Chris, you have anything else to add.
No, I don't think so. I was going to mention the some of the old antidote of C.S. Lewis and Tolkien being friends at the time, actually, when these were all being written. And Tolkien always thought that C.S. Lewis was living too much in the fantasy world of like his stuff was too unrealistic entirely because it was more aimed at that children level of entertainment. And whereas Tolkien wanted things to be realism, it wanted to be battles and the age of men and all that, and things being more realistic than others. And so I thought that was always an interesting dynamic that was
Yeah.
never really it's never really come through into the books or anything like this, but it's always just made me entertained me to see these two big authors that we love and know so much were beefing even back then about their books.
Yeah, this could be fake news, but I think I've seen somewhere before that C.S. Lewis put Father Christmas in this story specifically as like a little like frick you to Tolkien. Like, I can't have fantasy and like I'm gonna put Christmas in this book, just like just because I can, kind of a thing.
And Tolkien was struggling to actually publish his stuff, I believe, is what I remember reading. And it was C.S. Lewis saying, "Just get it out there. It's let people read it. We got to publish," and kind of pushed him to get that stuff published. So we wouldn't have
And look
either
at
of
him
these things, I
now.
don't think, without that little
Yeah.
bit of competition, a little bit of playful banter between these two
Yeah.
in that like salon style thing of the day.
Yeah. It reminds
Total
me
side
of
note, I know that there's a movie about Tolkien, and I think Christopher or Nicholas Hoult plays Tolkien, but it would be fun to have a little movie about these two together and their relationship.
That
Yeah, I
would
was
be
gonna say
interesting, actually.
they remind me of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, and like how pivotal
Mm.
Spielberg was in getting Star Wars made, the original Star Wars film.
Right.
And like back and forth how they would like bet like, well, Jaws is gonna make more money than Star Wars, and like they just together, like they just push each other to make each other better. And we've seen that very recently with those two. And so thinking back of Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, like where would the world be if we didn't have the Lord of the Rings or Narnia? Like,
Yeah.
the world is a better place because they were friends, and because I knew you, and because they were pushing each other. Little wicked reference in there for you if you know.
My youngest just got invited to a Wicked themed birthday party, and I'm like, heck yeah, let's go.
You've been training your whole life for this,
you
Saturday.
will be dressing up. I know, exactly. All right, so cast. We'll start, of course, with Lucy Pevensie. She was played by Georgie Henley. Like I said, I wanted to adopt her. I want to eat her up. She's the cutest little Lucy.
Yeah,
And she's our age now, so
it doesn't matter. She's encapsulated as little Lucy.
Yeah, she's the cutest, and she really is like the heart of the story. Like none of this happens if she isn't brave and goes out and explores and is kind with Mr. Tumnus. And like she's the one who is always like, no, we have to, Mr. Tumnus is in trouble because of me. Like we have a responsibility, we have a moral obligation to help him and save him. And so versus the other kids are like, dude, we got to go back, like we're in trouble, like we got to get out of here. And she's like, no, like we have to do the right thing. And so and again, her being the youngest and being so approachable for any kid who's watching it, like I can, even though I'm little, I think I could be brave enough if I needed to. It's like, yeah, you can, like you have this example. So she did a great job for being so little.
I agree entirely. She was adorable and actually did a great job with the performance. And I know the actress has done a few other things since, but this really was an amazing performance from her.
Yeah, she really held her own with the older kids and even the adult actors.
One of the things I saw was that Mr. Tumnus, James McAvoy, is she's older now than he was when he performed this performance in this movie.
Wow. Yeah.
You're gonna make me throw up.
It's what, 20
years ago now. So.
Yeah.
21 years, yeah.
Oh, okay. So moving on to the next sibling. Edmund is played by Skandor Keynes.
a very punchable
penis.
face.
Mm,
Yeah, you're right. He
mm-hmm.
does. Poor guy.
He was meant to be kind of the antagonist of the siblings, and kind of was
Mm-hmm.
the always kind of up against Peter and like butting heads with him in the book and the movie. But I think he did that well. He made you kind of hate him for a little bit, and then you kind of came around to being like, oh, he is um figuring out how to be brave and figuring out how to be a part of this dynamic of the group. So I liked
Yeah.
him.
I think he did a really great job of his portrayal, him being, like you said, like the antagonist or the, kind of the bad guy with amongst the siblings. Nothing about what he did in the book or in the movie was meant to be malicious. He wasn't trying actively to like harm his siblings. He's just incredibly, incredibly selfish. He wants to do he wants the Turkish delight. So like, yeah, I'll tell her whatever she wants. He wants to save his own skin. So he's going to tell her whatever she wants to hear. Like, it's not that he's like, I hate my siblings, I want to harm them.
Mm-hmm.
He's just selfish. And I think like
And
that,
oblivious at times. I feel
and
like that's
oblivious
part of it
for
too. He
sure.
didn't know what was happening. So
Yeah.
the Turkish delight and the food and drink were actually enchanted part as far as the book tells us, that there was actually magic in that made him yearn for more. It was the
Yes.
idea that
Mm-hmm.
he will do anything to get more of that. And so it was
Yes.
part of why he acted that way, was because he was enchanted by the witch.
Yes. Yeah. And so like that, his performance of making sure that you still, he's a tragic character. Like he has to now carry this guilt of betraying his siblings, and then they have the discussion in the book, and they don't really in the movie of like, do we tell Edmund that Aslan sacrificed himself for him, that
Mhm.
Aslan died specifically for Edmund in this case. And so in the movie they do kind of send a message back, and so he does know that Aslan is dead, and he has to carry that for the rest of his life, that Aslan died because of me. And he has to, that weighs on him, and you can see like that shift of him like being a petulant, annoying,
Mm-hmm.
selfish child to growing up and being like, I've got responsibility. I have to, I have to do the right thing. I have to help these people who have helped me and forgive and move forward. And so, as annoying and punchable as as he is, I think he had a lot of work to do as far as carrying the
Mm-hmm.
story,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he really stepped up and really did a great job. So shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think all four of them are really good actors, but I do think Lucy and Edmonds, at least in this one, their performances stuck out of the four of them.
Mhm.
So moving on, Susan is played by Anna Popplewell.
Susan's way more annoying in the movie than in the book. As the annoying, like logically, like older, like Hermione Granger coded, like older sister,
Mm,
like I was like, dude, you're annoying even me. Like I am you, or at least I was you when I was a younger kid, but like you're driving me nuts. But she was not that annoying in the book, so I want to defend my girl. I think like the movie had to take all of the characteristics of the kids and blow them up,
yes.
for the sake of it being a visual media, and you can't hear anybody's internal thoughts, obviously. So it took like all the best and worst of each of the characters and like amplified it. And so her, like, well, logically, like annoyingness got blown, I think, a little bit out of proportion. But she's the big sister, and so she's going to be there with Lucy, and they're going to cry over Aslan, and they're going to be together, and she's going to protect everybody, and she's big sister Susan.
And that's probably what a lot of people that watched it could relate to, is that everybody, that has a big sister might recognize some of those traits from a sister that, yeah, is a little bit bossy at times or something or whatnot. But in the story, she is the very pretty young girl that becomes queen, as one of the queens, and performs her role as, I don't remember was it the elegant that she got, or was that
The
Lucy?
gentle.
The gentle for her. And so she had to grow into that role as well. She started out more bossy, and I think she grew to become this gentle queen that they
Mhm.
wanted from her. And yeah, I think that her emotional side of the story with Lucy and everything growing to be a little closer and figure out how to trust each other and all that was well done by her. I think the emotional side of the character really came through with trying to help when Aslan was being taken to the stone, and all those things really came through pretty well.
Yeah.
Jordan, you mentioned that all of these characters kind of got blown up in the movie. And I thought one particular instance of this was the relationship between Edmund and Peter, our next character. And their like animosity towards each other was completely exaggerated in the film.
Yes.
Peter is played by William Moseley. And other than that, like exaggeration, thought he was a great little Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he's the older sibling that thinks he needs to protect everybody. He's trying to take on that father role because his dad's been gone at war, and I think that sometimes comes through with male siblings too. Is like if your parental your father figure's gone, even the younger sibling's going to want to kind of try to take on that role too, and isn't going to understand why he's not being given the chance to protect his family as well, and so. That animosity of like the hurt of Edmund of being his father's been gone so long. He just at the beginning he runs after out back to the house to grab the picture because he misses his dad. So I think they did a good job of giving you a reason for them to be more antagonistic in the film. And I think that that's part of that whole dynamic of siblings that they were really trying to portray here. And so I really enjoyed the way the kids all got to bring those emotions together and portray that for the younger viewers especially.
Yeah,
to relate
that opening scene of them at the bomb shelter is really a Peter and Edmund scene to tell you right off the bat who these guys are. Edmund, like he wants to get the picture of his dad, but ultimately it's selfish for him to do that because he's putting himself in danger. And now Peter saving him, he's putting Peter in danger too. Like these are like the German air raids on London. Like the people are dying all over the place. And he like, I understand. I would probably do the same thing as Edmund in that situation, like wanting a picture of my dad who's gone at war, could die at any time. Like I would probably also go back in for the picture, but ultimately, like that is a selfish thing to do because it's a photograph versus like my and my siblings' actual lives being put on the line. And then Peter, like he's the big brother. He's the one where mom at the train station, mom's telling him it's your job to protect your siblings and take care of your siblings, which like yes it is as the oldest sibling, but also like that's a lot of weight to put on a 13-year-old kid, especially in such a dangerous situation as World War II and then the war, the battle in Narnia. Like that's a lot for him to have to carry as a kid. So I thought, again, Peter, like there's so much, the sibling dynamics are so well done in the book and in the movie. And Peter just was like, Peter's the older brother that I think we all wish we had. Like he is willing to make that sacrifice play and help his sibling. And you're going to hear about it afterwards. You're going to get yelled at for being selfish and, this and that. But he is going to be there for you. He is going to save you. And I think, throughout the film, you always feel like he's a scared kid, but he's always trying his best to do the right thing and take care of his family as best as he can. So again, these child actors are incredible all the way around. And I think, they really kind of set a standard of what child actors could do, especially at this time frame. I think this was like right around the same time as Harry Potter was coming out, maybe a little bit before or after the first movie. After. So they like, we just were living in a golden age of child actors. We didn't even know it.
The same way that you relate with Susan as the older sibling a little bit, I definitely I was the oldest of my four siblings, and so and I think my sister had the same bob cut in her hair right around that time. So
it's a canon event.
I definitely relate with Peter throughout this film of the protective older sibling and trying to take on, as someone whose mom passed away young, I had to take on more of the adult role young even then. So I always felt that pressure a little bit, so I definitely related with him.
Aslan, the voice, of course, is Liam Neeson.
It's iconic. Like
no notes.
He's,
yep.
yeah, no notes.
Exactly.
There's nothing to say. He's just it's just iconic and incredible, and like I can't think of anybody that could have been a better Aslan. Like he just has that power and the
Mm.
regality of a lion. Like he's not just like some other animal, he's a lion, and he is, you know, again, like the Christianness of it all. Like he is the Jesus Christ figure, and like that has a lot of weight. And he just, like his performance, you can hear him start to get sad when he talk, like he knows he's gonna die and he has to die, and you can hear in his voice him getting sad. And then you can hear, like he, it was just an incredible bit of voice acting, honestly.
A lot of his lines, you know, do not recite the deep magic to me. I was there when it was written, are all like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, things that pop into my head regularly with his voice. And when
Mm-hmm.
things are, you know, there's a lot of videos online of it now, but it just goes through my head without any of that prompting either. Of just, you know, someone says something and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of his lines will start to trigger in my brain. So it
Yeah. And
definitely is a good performance.
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it more too, but like this is one of the things that, like, all the rumors about who is going to play Aslan, who's going to voice Aslan, I'm like, dude, you're you're joking, right? Like some of the people that they're throwing out, I'm like, you, because it's going to be direct, like we talked about with the Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, or whatever. It's going to be directly compared to this film, and
Hmm.
so you're going to have not Liam Neeson doing it.
Which
Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, it's so. I find it very frustrating, just because, again, I'm sure most of it is probably the nostalgia of growing up with this version, but I'm like, I don't think you can ever do better than that, than Liam Neeson, like as the voice. Like, come on, people.
Well, they're talking about
Hmm.
the gender swap possibly of it, which, you know, doesn't really matter for a character that's entirely a construct in this world of, you know, it can be whatever. But I think that might be why they need to do that, is because he's so iconic in this role that
Yeah,
you kind of need to change it enough that everybody's like, oh, okay, let's look at this from a different light, because it's not the same. So
yeah,
My concern with it being swapped is a female lion doesn't have a mane. So when they're cutting the hair in the um, stone table scene, what are
mhm.
like? I'm yeah, you can like shave her, but like what like the impact
It's not
isn't
the
going to be
same.
as much. Yeah,
which
Yeah,
and
they
then
it's not
don't
the
especially in
have
the
to
same.
make it a
film,
sorry, they don't have to make it a
she
female lion, so they could still make it a male lion with just a female voice actor playing the voice. Doesn't have to be super feminine even. It can be a woman giving, you know, a voice that, you know, there's a lot of female voice actors that play male characters. So
Yeah.
You're not
Um.
wrong, but I do think that Aslan, especially as like, the king of the pride, the king of Narnia,
Mhm.
lions are always like the male lions are always so like regal. And that just comes with needing to be a much deeper ethereal voice that I just don't think a woman could give the same effect. But like you said, that line where he's like, I was there when it was written is like, it needs to, I don't know, it just needs to be a little bit more oomph.
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, and I, not to be that guy, but like he's a direct interpretation of Jesus Christ. So like that feels weird to me, to take Jesus, like regardless of if you're a Christian or not, like an actual historical figure, and like gender swap them. Like that feels yucky to me on numerous levels. But I'm like, I'd rather we just stick with, like, there's a lot of characters that you could, again, like talking about Harry Potter, everything comes back to Harry Potter, but like there's a lot of
Mhm.
characters where you could switch the gender or the race or like any number of features about them and it doesn't matter. I think Aslan being a male matters, and he should be a male all the way through, but we will see.
Is there any character, like if you were to gender swap a character in the story, who would it be?
I mean, any of the kids you could swap. You know, it had, like, for the purposes of the story, it has to be two and two. But I think if you made Lucy Lucas and Edmund like Eden or whatever, like if you switched the boys and the girls, like I think it could be, close enough. Mr. Tumnus could be Mrs. Tumnus. Like Professor Kirk,
Mhm.
historically probably wouldn't be a woman, but like you could make it an older woman living in an estate, and it wouldn't change anything, I don't think. Like,
Well, you'd probably
there,
make that Polly, not Kirk
yeah,
at that point. You probably would just swap the character being used. But we already know that they're definitely giving us Daniel Craig as Diggory in the Midget's Nephew.
Mhm.
So that's gonna
yeah.
already be an iconic
Spoiler alert.
person in the role. So
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like there's other characters that they could switch, and Aslan, and again, this is coming from me being a Christian, being a believer in Jesus Christ as, my Lord and Savior. Like, I strongly feel that it should be a male voice actor.
Would you not watch it if it was a female voice actor?
I would
Or would you give
watch
it
it. I would still watch it. I would still give it a shot just to see, because like you guys said, maybe it could still be, it could still work. It could.
mm-hmm.
I would have a lot of issues with it. I would not like it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be as excited for it if, because the rumor, I don't know if the official casting, but like, is Meryl
It's not
Streep.
official. It's a rumor.
So
Yeah.
still rumored. Like, the most recent rumor we have is that it's Meryl Streep. Like, I'm gonna be pissed if it actually ends up being Meryl Streep, because that just doesn't sit right in my soul. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like anything about that. But they could still tell this, if everything else is like perfect, then like maybe I could get over it.
Yeah.
Maybe, but like, it's
I
gonna be
don't
really
love the
hard.
fact that it's rumored to be Meryl Streep either.
Yeah.
As much as I
and
love her, and she can do quote anything per our
Project Hail Mary.
astronaut Grace.
I think this is probably the one thing that she can't do.
She can't do.
Because I also love Meryl Streep, but like, not as Aslan.
And there is a little bit of a tie there, though, because Greta directed Barbie and Ryan played Ken in that film.
How about
Maybe
Ryan
he has
Gosling
some
for
inside
Aslan?
information. Yeah, no, he's not regal enough. As much as I love him, no.
Yeah, no.
So I think part of the point of possibly swapping Aslan's gender in this is that this is supposed to be what the Jesus character could show up as in a fantasy world. He's not a tame lion. He's not in our world he may be male. In Narnia he could be female. In another one of those multiverse worlds he could be androgynous entirely. That's kind of the point too, is that this gender could be fluid in between those worlds as a being that isn't actually human or actually one of our characters fully, a godlike being.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens and what route. I mean, we're not going to know more until we get more casting and more like a teaser and just more anything.
Yeah.
Which it's coming up in December. I mean, November.
Mhm.
So I mean, I hope we see
Mhm.
A full trailer soon or something.
Soon. Yeah, I don't even think like we don't. Well, yeah, like we don't even know who is Aslan. I don't even think we know who the kids are.
Well,
I think Daniel
no.
Craig and Emma Mackey, I think, are the only two confirmed characters we have.
But that's like the adult versions of them, or one of them is Jadis, right? Emma Mackey is Jadis.
Hold on, I just
I
had
think
it.
so.
Yeah, Emma Mackey. Well, no, she's the White Witch, but yes, Jadis. Carrie Mulligan, I think, is in it, and then Daniel Craig is Uncle Andrew. So maybe Carrie is.
Oh, they do. They do. They have.
Polly.
Yeah, Carrie is. They're calling her Mabel, so that's his mom, Diggory's
Yes,
mom,
that's Diggory's mom.
and then Diggory is David McKenna. So according to the
So
casting,
they do
here,
have the kiss. Okay.
at least one of them. I don't see
IMDb
Polly,
is
but-
not up to date.
Mm.
Oh, Polly is Beatrice Campbell. So they do have quite a few of these.
Tune into the May news episode where we actually cover this, since we haven't so far.
True. Hopefully, we'll see some more official news coming out soon that we can cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the White Witch, in this 2005 version, she is played by Tilda Swinton.
The Ancient One.
Yeah. She's got a very unique look to her in general, so I thought it was really a good cast because the White Witch is supposed to be a unique character. Like, isn't she described as like very thin and very tall in the Magician's Nephew?
She's Yeah, she's half giant, so she's
Half
like literally
Jin.
seven.
Yeah.
Yeah, half giant, half Jin. So she has magic and height. She's supposed to be like 7 feet tall. Which I guess they saved their effects money for Aslan and didn't make her 7 feet tall, which is fine. Like that doesn't bother
Probably
me.
would have thrown the story off a little bit if she was just this awkwardly shaped woman on screen. It's
Yeah,
probably better just to
yeah.
let her be human appearance.
Hmm.
But they do show her strength a little bit, like the scene where Edmund's in the dungeon, like she picks him up and you see his feet dangling, like he's fully off the ground, which, like, obviously a normal woman would not be
Hmm.
able to lift a child of his age one handed like that. So you know, you do get some hints here and there that she is other than just a human.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, she really, her costumes in this are incredible. Like
Hmm.
all of the battle costume where she's wearing Aslan's mane, I'm like, period.
That's what I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about the shaving. Like, it made such an impact when she shows up to the battle with that
Hmm.
mane.
Yeah, yeah. Um, she. This is my first introduction to Tilda Swinton as an actor, and so now everything else that I've ever seen her in, I'm like, it's the White Witch. Oh my gosh! Like she, but she does like really melt into this role, and like she was really scary. I, as a kid, especially, like I really believe that she was out here about to murder these kids.
She does have that menace, and yeah, I think that she pulled off the role really well. I didn't really know her at all at the time. I didn't pay attention to that sort of thing at all. And the Ancient One, knowing the name now, I don't know if I would have connected it if I didn't actually know it was her because of the
Mhm,
way she kind of disappears into her roles pretty well. I mean, if you
mhm.
look, she's there, but she tries to really embody her roles. So
Yeah.
I do remember like my mom having a reaction when she was cast because, like I said, well, I guess I don't know if okay. I do remember my mom having a reaction to this because I was 15 at the time, so like twice as old as you at the time, Jordan. And so this was like big for us. Like we like with Harry Potter, like we were into
Yeah.
Harry Potter. I know that I had watched the BBC, so we were very excited. And obviously I didn't know Tilda as much as my mom did at the time, but she was excited to see how Tilda Swinton would make the White Witch come to life on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought she nailed it. Like you said, those costumes were amazing. I would like to see if they won any um, Oscars for this at all.
that's fair. Yeah.
All right, on the flip side of the evil White Witch, we have the sweet Mr. Tumnus, played by James McAvoy, which is wild to see him so young on screen.
Update there, they did win best makeup and best motion picture. There was definitely best costume. So yeah, basically all the things you would expect
Okay,
this
good,
to
good, good,
win,
good, good. Okay.
they won.
Speaking of makeup, I thought the centaurs were really interesting. How they
Hmm.
had they weren't human faces.
Hmm.
And then I think Mr. Tumnus, his nose was different.
Hmm.
And I noticed, like, I was really noticing the makeup on James McAvoy too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad they won all those awards because they deserved it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
back to Thomas, but yeah, I think that
Yeah.
he definitely, um, well, I mean, that was an amazing costume for sure, and like this is the first fantasy character we see in this storyline, and so you get introduced to Lucy meeting this satyr,
He calls
and
himself a fawn, but
a
yes, he's
fawn.
a
Okay,
satyr.
yes. And so she has to like, figure out what he is and figure out what this world is. And so I think he did a really good job of introducing her to the concept of Narnia in the first introduction there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he does such a great job too, like, you know, being kind and friendly and like, oh, come and have tea with me, and then like him realizing what he's done and like, you know, or feeling guilty about like, this is just a little girl, like she's so sweet and so kind, and and I'm gonna turn her over to this person that I know is evil and I know wants to harm her. Like that's so, and like him wrestling with that guilt and then like his fear in the dungeon, like he just puts on a master performance, I think, showing like all the different aspects of what people go through when they're in situations where they're being directly oppressed by an evil entity, and like how do you navigate that? You know, it felt very, especially with the World War II connection, it was like if you know, are living in Germany and, you know, Anne Frank comes to your door, are you going to turn her in to the secret police, or are you going to help her escape? And so like it, that parallel of, you know, Lucy is, you know, the hunted, you know, person, the hunted race in this world, and you he has to make the choice: do I help her, do I save her, or do I turn her in to protect myself? And you know, he goes through all of that like thought process, you know, really really compelling.
The playing of the music with the uh, fire dancing was like one of my. It wasn't. I don't think directly. It might have been referenced slightly in the book, but I thought that visual was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And his line, it's from the book and in the film, but the line of even some of the trees are on her side is another one of those
Mm-hmm.
lines that sticks with me when I'm walking through the woods or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last character that I included on this list was Professor Kirk, played by Jim Broadbent. And that's why I wanted to include him, because when I finally made the realization, like it clicked who this was, I got so excited. It's always fun to watch these older films and see like James McAvoy, you know, come up and pop up. And Jim Broadbent, of course, he's in Harry Potter. And so, a lot of other films that I really adore. So, really excited to see him. Very, you know, short scenes that he's in, but I think he nailed the endearing, mysterious uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly friendly for the way that he's described to them at first is do not disturb the professor. And then
Yeah.
they
Mm-hmm.
disturb the professor and he's like, oh, hey, kids, how are you
It's like,
doing? I
oh
love
hi
having you
guys.
here.
Yeah. I'm like, well, of course you should believe your. I really love the scene of him talking to Peter and Susan. Like, obviously, you should believe your sister. Like, she's not a liar. She's
Mm-hmm.
not crazy. Like, you know, obviously, you should believe her. And like, you know, getting especially Susan to like turn her logic, you know, and look at things a different way and like be open minded and have that new perspective. Um, I thought that was really, he really nailed that scene. Like you said, very small scenes that he's in, but when he was there, you're like, yeah, this is somebody, this, you know, like it's family, like it's somebody that I can trust and that I can go to when I need help, and you know, I want to explain my problems to him because he can help me work
Yeah.
through it and figure it out. I love the end scene where he's like, "Try me," like because
Yeah.
he is
Mm-hmm.
Diggory. He has been to these other worlds. He knows the White Witch. Like he,
He
you know,
caused the White
try
Witch.
me. Yeah,
Right.
it's all his fault. Actually, everything is his fault. But
We're just
like, you
cleaning
know,
up his mess, really. So,
yeah, truly. But like, you know, try me. Like that's just such a fun. Like, I hope when I'm old, I'm fun and like whimsical the way that he is.
and then there's the credit scene after that, after they do the
Mm-hmm.
little thing, and it's just him sitting in the corner of the room, which I thought was like, well, that's a little weird, but I guess you do that. One of the kids was going to try to get back that way, but also he was trying to get back in that way too, I think.
Yeah.
And he basically has a little moment with Lucy of, oh, we're probably not going to get back that way, but let's
Yeah.
keep our eyes open.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead and spoil it for me. How do they get back to Narnia in the next book?
The next one being
Is it
Prince
a different way every
Caspian.
single time?
Um, yes, for the most
Wow.
part. The
Okay.
next one was Prince Caspian, and I believe they are just they're on the train or on the train platform, and they just end up being magically transported back into that world.
Hmm.
It was like
Okay.
I don't think there's even a method that they get back. And
Yeah.
then in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, um, Lucy and Edmund are staying with a cousin, Eustace, and they see a picture on the wall that looks like a Narnian ship to them, and they're staring
Hmm.
at this picture, and then all of a sudden. The picture starts moving, and they find themselves standing on the ship with Prince Caspian
Huh.
as they are
Okay, that's fun.
on the Dawn Treader. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and
And it
then the
talks
Horseman's
in the
Boy. This was while they were still in the universe. That one happens. That's a story that happens in universe while they're kings and queens of Narnia. All four of them.
yeah.
Okay.
It talks about in The Magician's Nephew how Aslan has the power to summon people to Narnia, just like with his
Oh
roar.
yes. Mm-hmm.
So probably like they go through these various like portals, but it's at the summons of Aslan, since like, because the wardrobe, spoilers for Magician's Nephew, the wardrobe has the power of the rings that Uncle Andrew made, and that's how the wardrobe kind of like, he buried the rings around this tree and then turned the tree into the wardrobe. So I think that it has some like Narnian magic in the wood, and that's how that is a portal. But I
So
think these other one,
the apple came from Narnia too.
yeah,
That was part of
the
the
tree
point
came,
too.
yeah, the combination of the things, yeah, had like Narnian magic. But I think these other portals probably were more due to the fact that Aslan was like, okay, we need these guys back, let's get them in here, kind of a thing. But that's, I think that's mostly my head canon about it.
My biggest question from the Magician's Nephew is, what about Atlantis? Like the beginning of this book talks about how his great
Sure.
aunt was a fae, and or was the last of the fairies, and had this box from Atlantis he wanted him to destroy. And I'm like, tell me that story. Somebody go back and
Yeah.
write that story, because I want to learn about like our world's other connections to this other realm. And it has so much. Like I want to go back and start reading C.S. Lewis fan fiction from this whole
Yeah.
area, because I want
Yeah.
to be like, okay, yeah, let's tell more stories in Narnia. Let's see this world more. I want to.
Yeah.
It's these books don't give me enough. I want more. So
Yeah. Give me the prequels of the prequel.
yeah, give me everything. Give me all the years they lived as kings and queens in Narnia.
Ugh.
Just give me a TV show.
Yes. I mentioned earlier the animosity between Edmund and Peter was heightened in the movie. Was there any other changes in character arcs that you guys noticed or wanted to touch on before we wrap up here?
Did Mr. and Mrs. Beaver have a little bit of a different dynamic between the two of them? I kind of felt when I was watching the film last night that they were a little more. I mean, they were fine, but I felt like their dynamic might have been changed a little bit.
I mean, I
The
think
way
they
they
just
interact
had
with each other.
more. I think they just had more like lines and
Mm,
more direct interaction with the kids, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
the story is told third person for the
right.
most part. Like, you occasionally you get into like Edmund's head when he's walking from the beaver's house to the witch's house. Like, you get some of his thoughts of like, when I'm king, I'm going to install a road system because there's no roads here, like that kind of thing. um but I think the beavers just had like more actual speaking in the
Mm-hmm.
film than in the book, where it's mostly focused on like the kids and some like their internal thoughts, and it's told third person, like the beaver said whatever, versus this movie gave them like personalities.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think otherwise the characters were pretty well, represented. I don't think there was
Yeah.
too much else.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, thanks for joining us, listeners, on part 1 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when we covered the introduction of the book and the cast. Next episode, we will be diving into the plot. So stay tuned, give us a follow, and we will see you next week. That's a wrap for today's episode of BookWatch. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of page-to-screen adaptations. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with your fellow book and movie lovers. If you'd prefer to watch along, you can check the show out on YouTube. You can follow the show on Instagram at BookWatch Podcast, and you can follow me, Sarah Day, on Instagram at captain.mcdee. That's MCDEE. You can also join the conversation in the BookWatch Lounge on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/BookWatchLounge. If you would like to support the podcast, you can join the Patreon at www.patreon.com/BookWatchPodcast. Tiers start at only $4 a month, and I'd love to have you over there. If you have a favorite adaptation you'd like to cover with me, I'd love for you to apply to be on the show with the contact form on our website at www.bookwatchpodcast.com. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and I'll see you next week.